What if I told you the United States, not Russia, not China, could one day shatter NATO by invading Greenland? Sounds insane, right? But play this out, and you'll see why such a move wouldn't end in empire. It would end in America's isolation. Greenland isn't just ice and polar bears. It's an autonomous territory of Denmark, a NATO member. Under NATO's charter, an attack on Greenland is an attack on all. So if Washington sent troops there, Article 5 would kick in. But here's the twist. The aggressor would be inside NATO. That's like the security guard pulling a gun on the bank he's paid to protect. NATO decisions require consensus. The U.S. has the biggest vote, the biggest army, and the nuclear arsenal everyone depends on. In other words, NATO couldn't act. The alliance would freeze, paralyzed, and suddenly, Europe would be staring at its worst nightmare. Life without the American shield. So what happens next? France, Germany, and Denmark would condemn the move. Canada would panic. But no one wants to go toe-to-toe with the U.S. military. Instead, the battlefield would shift to economics and diplomacy. Think. Sanctions, asset freezes, pulling ambassadors, cutting off trade. Europe has learned how to coordinate punishment. Just look at the Russia sanctions playbook. The goal wouldn't be to eject U.S. troops with force, but to make occupation politically toxic and economically ruinous. Here's where it gets really interesting. Once America turns rogue, the rest of the world finds common cause. Europe, Canada, Japan, Australia, South Korea, they align, not through NATO, but outside it. Even Russia and China, for all their rivalry, suddenly have the same objective. Contain the United States. The world order flips. America becomes the threat it once swore to deter. Picture this. Greenland becomes the 21st century Berlin. Surveillance planes crisscross the Arctic skies. Cyber attacks slam military bases. Local Greenlanders resist occupation while Denmark screams at the UN. The frozen north becomes the front line of a new global divide. So, when does the world say enough? If the U.S. tried to annex Greenland outright, sanctions would rain down. If it struck Denmark itself, Europe would mobilize militarily. And if Washington moved against Canada or Mexico, the illusion would shatter. Nations everywhere would recognize America as a predator and act to contain it. The paradox? The more the U.S. grabs, the more alone it becomes. For 75 years, America wrote the rules. It built NATO to contain aggressors. But in this scenario, the aggressor is America itself. And the result isn't global dominance, it's global isolation. Sure, U.S. troops could stand on the ice in Greenland. But its moral authority? Melted away. So here's the real question. Is NATO strong enough to survive its own creator turning rogue? Or would America's grab for Greenland spark the collapse of the world order it once built? Because if it happens, the United States won't be the world's policeman anymore. It'll be the world's outlaw.